I'm gonna drop you right into the absolute biggest realization I've had about the entire multiversal saga. Seriously, once you see this, it is going to completely change how you view everything we've watched so far. Think about it. What if He Who Remains wasn't actually terrified of his own variants? I mean, really think back to his grand theatrical speeches to Loki and Sylvie at the Citadel at the end of time. What if all his cryptic warnings, the meticulous obsessive creation of the TVA, the absolute ruthless pruning of countless innocent timelines, what if literally all of it was because he was absolutely paralyzed by the looming threat of Dr. Doom? I've been piecing this massive puzzle together, and I can tell you right now, this evidence isn't just some wild tinfoil hat fan theory. It is physically hiding in plain sight right there on the screen. Let me explain this to you.
So let's look at the glaring anomaly from the ending of Loki Season 2. We have He Who Remains sitting on his throne, acting entirely in control, right? He gives Loki this twisted, impossible choice, warning him that killing him would unleash a devastating multiversal war. But the math just doesn't add up here. We literally watch the temporal loom overloading with those infinite spaghetti timelines just branching out uncontrollably in every conceivable direction. We already know for a fact that his variants, like Victor Timely, were leaking out into the timeline anyway. The TVA could prune branches all day, every day, but eventually variants always slip through the cracks. It's just a statistical inevitability. So if his variants are already out there and the multiverse is already rapidly expanding, why is his specific death the ultimate trigger? It just doesn't make any sense. Well, actually, scratch that. It makes perfect sense, but only if the war he truly fears isn't brought by an infinite army of Kangs at all. What if it's brought by someone else entirely?
Let's dive right into Chapter 1, Kang's True Fear.
I realized something massive here. If He Who Remains is truly stationed at the end of time, sitting at the very apex of reality, he already knows absolutely everything that happens after Loki sits on that multiversal throne. He's overseen the entire tapestry of existence from this completely detached, omniscient vantage point. He knows who rises to power, he knows who falls into obscurity, and most importantly, he knows who actually wins in the end. He must have already seen the true architect of the impending destruction. He isn't trying to stop a war of infinite Kangs, honestly. He knows his variants are just stepping stones, mere casualties in a much, much larger conflict. What he is desperately trying to do is delay the inevitable arrival of Dr. Doom. He has already witnessed the devastating multiversal war that Doom brings, and he built his entire hidden empire just to hide from it. And I have the physical, on-screen evidence to prove to you that Kang is just copying Doom's homework out of pure, unadulterated survival instinct.
Moving on to Chapter 2, the Time Platform Connection.
Let me take you step by step through the actual technology we see on screen. I want you to think back to those portals the Kang variants used in the Quantumania post-credit scene. We see this massive, brutalist coliseum, right? It's filled with hundreds of thousands of screaming Kang variants. But I noticed something absolutely fascinating about that specific scene. Every single one of those variants, despite coming from radically different timelines, totally different galaxies, and completely separate universes, uses portals that operate on the exact same uniform technological system. They all pop into the arena using that specific glowing rectangular technology. They share a singular, very specific aesthetic. And I promise you, this isn't just a random visual choice by the filmmakers to save on CGI budget. No way. It directly matches a terrifying piece of comic book lore. If we dig into the deepest lore, Dr. Doom possesses a highly advanced time platform. But unlike Kang, who uses time travel like a cheap toy to jump around and conquer whatever he wants, Dr. Doom actually hides his time platform away and rarely ever uses it. Why? Because Doom possesses the terrifying intellect to truly understand the sheer, unadulterated chaos of messing with time. He learned this the absolute hard way. There's this incredibly famous storyline where Doom repeatedly tried to time travel to save his godchild, Valeria. He tried over and over, only to realize that playing with the fabric of time only breeds more destruction and chaos. He couldn't force the timeline to bend to his will without breaking reality itself. Doom respects the catastrophic danger of time travel. Kang, on the other hand, recklessly mass-produces it because, frankly, he lacks Doom's ultimate wisdom and discipline. And this brilliantly illustrates the web I'm untangling for you here. Because if you look really closely at Earth 838 in Multiverse of Madness, when John Krasinski's Reed Richards steps into that Illuminati chamber, he uses a glowing, square portal device that looks exactly like the tech Kang uses. The visual similarities are undeniable. It's a one-to-one match. Doom, Reed Richards, and Kang are all fundamentally entangled in this cosmic dance. They share the exact same ancestral technological footprint. But the real question is, who actually invented it? And who is just a descendant riding on the coattails of a true genius? Which brings us to Chapter 3, Battleworld and the TVA. Let's scale this up from mere gadgets and portals, okay? I'm going to show you how the grand architecture of He Who Remains' absolute masterpiece, the Time Variance Authority itself, is a completely stolen blueprint. I mean, think about what the TVA actually is when you strip away the retro office aesthetic. It's a secret timeline, completely isolated from the rest of the multiverse, populated by stolen variants who have had their memories completely wiped. Mobius forgot his absolute love for jet skis and his 2 kids. Ravonna Renslayer forgot her entire past life as a principal on Earth. They were wiped totally clean so they would blindly serve a higher power without question. Does that specific setup sound familiar to anyone who knows their massive comic book crossover events? Because it is exactly what Doom does. Let me explain this because it's wild. During the epic 2015 Secret Wars event, Doom builds a realm called Battleworld. When the entire multiverse is collapsing into nothingness, he essentially takes fragments of destroyed universes, patches them together into a singular Frankenstein-style planet, and entirely erases the past lives of all its citizens. He forcefully makes them forget who they were in their previous universes just so they will blindly worship him as God Emperor Doom. And guess what? He Who Remains did the exact same thing. He took the void, he wiped the memories of his workers, and he created the grand fake myth of the giant robotic timekeepers for the TVA to worship. He Who Remains is just running a localized, highly cowardly version of Doom's Battleworld. Now, let's unpack Chapter 4, the Molecule Man Battery. We really need to understand the mechanics of this stolen reality. Ask yourself, how do you even power a massive, isolated reality like the TVA, sitting entirely outside of time and space? To do that requires an unfathomable, virtually infinite amount of energy. So what is the true purpose of the temporal loom? In Loki, we're told the temporal loom is this massive glowing core of infinite energy that maintains the timeline, powers the entire TVA facility, and physically weaves raw time into a physical reality while pruning all the excess branches. And yet again, I realize its function perfectly mirrors another incredibly iconic Doctor Doom secret. In his creation of Battleworld, Doctor Doom didn't just use standard magic or super science, he captured a staggeringly powerful god-tier cosmic entity known as the Molecule Man. Owen Reese, the Molecule Man, has the literal power to shape the fairy fabric of reality itself. Doom kept him hidden away in a secret underground chamber, basically using him as a living, breathing battery to sustain the existence of his entire artificial planet and grant Doom his own godlike omnipotence. Doom mastered a living cosmic entity. So the absolutely crucial point I want you to take away here is this. The temporal loom is just Kang's mechanical, soulless knockoff of the Molecule Man. Kang couldn't master a cosmic god like Doom did, so he had to build a giant, clunky machine to try and do the exact same job. And you know, Kang's mimicry of Doom's darkest habits doesn't even stop at cosmic batteries. Look at what Kang did to Darren Crossdown in the Quantum Realm, turning him into the grotesque, horrifyingly disproportionate MODOK. I see this hideous transformation as a direct, uninspired copy of Doctor Doom's twisted habit of mutating people he despises into functional, humiliating objects. In the comics, Doom literally turned a person into a burning sun just to light up the sky of Battleworld. He turned others into literal stone walls to protect his borders. Doom is ruthless, yes, but he's wildly imaginative. Kang turning a guy into a giant floating head to do his bidding, that is him pathetically, desperately trying to emulate Doom's brutal brand of absolute control, but falling completely, laughably short. Let's look at Chapter 5, the Gothic Ring Beacon. This brings me to the massive elephant in the room that ties this entire multiversal theory together, Shang-Chi's 10 Rings. Now, you really got to hear me out on this one, because the visual storytelling happening here is just incredible. Look closely at Kang's aesthetic in Quantumania. His armor is glossy, it's highly futuristic, glowing with this sleek blue and purple energy, and it's purely sci-fi in its design. Now, contrast that glossy tech with the heavy, colorless, medieval, steel-forged aesthetic of the 10 Rings. They are brutalist, they are chunky, they do not look like they come from the same inventor at all. So I want you to really look at that heavy gothic metal of the rings and ask yourself a crucial question. Who in the vast multiverse actually matches this specific, colorless, heavy medieval style? The answer is undeniably Victor Von Doom. The rings look like they were forged in the fiery, ironclad depths of Latveria, not in some 31st century pristine neon-lit laboratory. I firmly believe Kang reverse engineered his suit's energy signatures, those circular, glowing bands of light he shoots, from Doom's original tech. Meanwhile, the Ten Rings themselves hold a much, much darker secret. Remember the post-credit scene in Shang-Chi? We've got Wong, Captain Marvel, and Bruce Banner standing in the Sanctum Sanctorum, and they are completely baffled. The rings aren't vibranium, they aren't Chitauri, they aren't any known alien tech, and they aren't standard magic. They are sending a signal. They are secretly acting as a massive homing beacon, calling out across the vast multiverse, outside of known science and magic. They are not calling to Kang, they are calling out to their true master, Dr. Doom. And if you want the ultimate visual proof that He Who Remains is completely obsessed with and terrified of Dr. Doom, just look at the physical stone of his own house, the Citadel at the end of time. It is a crumbling, dark, gothic castle sitting on a desolate asteroid. Look at the gargoyles, the heavy wooden doors, the dark, cracked stone. It sharply, violently contrasts with the high-tech, glowing bureaucracy of the TVA he built. It doesn't look like Kang's hyper-advanced, glossy technology at all. It looks exactly like a desperate, lonely replica of Dr. Doom's own gothic castle. He Who Remains literally built his ultimate safe house to look like the home of the man he fears most. It's almost sad when you think about it. And finally, Chapter 6, The Bootstrap Paradox Retcon. So how do we weave this all together to explain the cinematic universe's ultimate plot twist? How does this completely reframe absolutely everything we've experienced in the past few years of movies and shows? What I am proposing to you right now is that Kang the Conqueror, He Who Remains, and all his infinitely screaming variants were never the supreme masterminds of the multiverse. Kang is a total fraud. He is a terrified man who looked forward to the end of the multiversal saga, witnessed Dr. Doom's ultimate crushing victory, and frantically copied Doom's methods, creating the TVA, isolating a timeline out of pure, unadulterated fear. Let's map out how this massive bootstrap paradox elegantly loops on itself. I want you to walk through this timeline with me slowly, because it's a lot. Look at year 1. Imagine a timeline where Dr. Doom initially learns about multiverse travel simply by observing a lesser Kang variant's time platform tech. Now jump forward to year 2099. Using his vastly superior intellect, Doom completely masters this stolen concept, conquers the multiverse, and creates his perfect unified battle world. Centuries later, around year 3100, He Who Remains looks back through the tapestry of time, witnesses Doom's flawless multiversal control, and realizes his own doom is completely inevitable. Finally, in year 4000, He Who Remains goes back in time to build the TVA in a desperate response to mimic Doom and hide his specific timeline from him. It's an endless, mind-bending loop where they are constantly feeding off each other's legacy. I'm gonna leave you with this incredibly provocative thought. Everything we've watched so far, every single grand speech about the sacred timeline, every massive CGI-heavy battle in the quantum realm, what if it was literally all just a terrified man playing dress-up, hopelessly trying to delay the inevitable arrival of the true master of the multiverse, Dr. Doom? Think about how completely that recontextualizes the entire saga we are watching unfold right now. Every action Kang took wasn't out of conquest, it was out of sheer panic. I really hope this realization blew your mind as much as it did mine when I finally put all these visual pieces together. Keep questioning what you see on the screen, because the true villain has been hiding in the shadows this entire time.